In this episode of the Story Geeks, we are joined by Colleen and Jay.
Woo!
Yes. We're talking all about No Vacancy. We're going to watch the trailer. We're going to discuss it, break it down, all that up next on this episode of the Story Geeks. Welcome aboard, everybody, to this episode of the Story Geeks. A very, very special episode, actually. I will be hosting this episode today. I'm going to be talking to Jay and Colleen all about No Vacancy. We're going to watch that trailer together. We're going to talk about their experiences, the film, all that good stuff. But before we do that, I want to introduce my fantastic guest, Jay. I will start off with you. Welcome back.
I love being a guest on the show. It's like it's the most fun. I used to host it. Now I'm the guest. It's amazing.
It's awesome. It's awesome. Jay, if you could just kind of remind everybody where they could find you on social media, all that good stuff.
Yeah, you can always follow me over on X at Jay Sherer. I'm always posting stuff over there. You can also follow me on Instagram. Great place to watch the two trailers, X or Instagram. We're going to watch it here, so you get to see it on this video. But it's always cool if you give us a shout out or share it or whatever. We love that. You can also find me on How Stories Work, and I have a whole series of videos coming out that are about what I learned directing my first film. So a bunch of videos coming out. Already have one out there right now. So How Stories Work with Jay Sherer, and then you can find me also right here on Orange Grove 55 with the Story Geeks show.
There we go. And down below, first time on the channel, we have Colleen Trusler. Welcome, Colleen.
Thank you. I love being here.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on. Now, Colleen is an actress in the No Vacancy short film. So we're going to be talking to her and Jay about their experiences. But Colleen, is there any social media you'd like to share with everybody before we get started? Or
yeah, pretty much every platform at Colleen Trusler, Twitter, Instagram is where you'll find me most. So
perfect. Well, welcome again to the show.
Thank you.
All right, so we're gonna watch the trailer in just a moment. But before we do that, Jay, I want to actually ask you, because we did a video already on No Vacancy, right?
We did, yeah.
But everyone doesn't watch every single video. So kind of, if you could, kind of break down just a short little synopsis. What is No Vacancy exactly before we dive into this trailer?
Yeah, for sure. A little bit of background. So I have a feature script called The Harlequin. And The Harlequin is a thriller that has superhero and some horror elements to it, right? And I wrote that script, and I wanted to be able to have a calling card. I was telling Tones the other day, I was on the Bad Thought Studio show with Tones. I was telling Tones, like, it's just like anywhere. Like, you don't walk into a job without a resume. Right. If you want to create a film and you want people to invest in that film and you want them to put money behind it, you don't just show up with the script and be like, hey, guess what? I got a script. So I wanted to create a proof of concept, meaning that you take the feature film, you cut it up into a smaller little piece, and then you say, this is what we're good at. If you give us the money, we did this with this amount of money, we can do this with this more amount of money, right? And so this is a proof of concept film. Some people will use a few scenes from the feature film as their proof of concept. Some people will use a trailer for their proof of concept. As a writer, I wanted to do something a little bit more creative, so I wrote a prequel short film. So this is technically a prequel to the feature film that we hope to get funded, hopefully later this year or next year. And that's what No Vacancy is. It is about Colleen's character, and she is dealing with a situation that requires her to go to a remote motel. And then lots of things go down at that motel.
Nice. So before we dive into the trailer, Colleen, how did that whole process play out? Like, how did you find out? Like, you auditioned, right? And then you found out. How did that whole process play out for you?
Well, actually, I had worked with Lucas Colombo, who was another co-director on the No Vacancy shoot. I'd worked with him. We were trying to figure it out. I think this would be my fourth time, technically. At least two other times. There was like a third sort of shoot that we worked on we didn't really do much with it. But so this would be technically my fourth time working with him. But and so he knew what I could do, and he had this idea and sent it to me. I'm like, this sounds amazing. They sent me the script, and the rest is history. I'm like, yes, I'm there. I absolutely fell in love with the lead character. So I was really just so grateful that they shot it my way.
Awesome, awesome. Now, Colleen, how does that work? I've always wondered this, right, with like actors and actresses and what have you. So you get the script, you read the script, you find out who your character is. Lee Larson. How do you get in that how do you get in that headspace, right, to become essentially another person, right?
Well, it's research, and it's pulling things from your own life. I think that's where the authenticity comes in. Using even just like parallel emotions and things that you can use from experiences that you've had in the past. And it's tricky, right? Especially with these deeper emotions, and using things that you've experienced yourself. But it's research, it's diving into the character, it's coming up with backstory. Like that's one of my favorite things to do, is to come up with kind of my own, like fleshing it out, talking to the writers, like what are your concepts, what are your ideas, like what happens in the future, like all those things kind of come together. And then it's working with I have a great acting coach here as well, and fleshing it out that way. And then getting on set and working with some of the actors as well, like just kind of running lines and like what are your thoughts, and really collaborating that way. So there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that happens. Obviously, there's a lot of work that goes into it beforehand, but a lot of it for me is really is connecting to the character and getting in that headspace of, wow, I can really relate to this part of it. I can really relate to that part of it. Like even the parts I can't relate to, I dive into research and like what part of that emotion can I connect to in my own life? And that's just a huge part of it for me.
That's smart. That's really smart. Connecting it to your own life, and that creates that kind of organic authenticity, right? Because now it's real to you,
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, should we dive into this trailer?
Yay!
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Let's go.
Today's guest, a Pulitzer Prize-winning investigative journalist whose work has literally changed the world.
What is it?
A fortune has been spent trying to answer that question.
How did you track it to me?
Let's not draw this out.
Dropping out of the political landscape to focus solely on covering a new phenomenon, the rise of superpowered humans.
We should forgive our enemies, but not before they're hanged.
I know who you are, Lazarus!
Truth is a dangerous weapon.
Sometimes I wish you would just trust me.
Was it worth it?
We like Miss Larson. Everything's fiction. The question is whether or not it's to be believed.
Lee Larson, welcome.
What advice would you give to a newbie?
My advice? Screw journalism.
Fantastic trailer. Fantastic. Jay, I want to ask you real quick. Who pieced that trailer together, to give credit to?
Oh yeah, shout out to Hobie. Hobie works with the Condor Blue crew. Lasco, I believe is his last name. Hobie Lasco. Yeah, and he did a fantastic job with that. And then Lucas Colombo also put some work into it too.
Nice. Looks fantastic. Looks fantastic. So I'll let you go ahead, Jay, and ask with the question, and then we'll go from there.
So at this point, as the writer,
okay,
and as somebody who was on set the whole time, serving as a director with this, I've talked to you about it multiple times, right?
Right.
And now you actually get to see some of what we actually shot. And I have lost all objectivity with it, right? Because it's just so much like a part of my like mental capacity of what's going on. So I wonder, for somebody who's heard about it already, what is your experience with it? Does it seem like what I was talking about, or does it seem like something completely different that you're like, wow, this is totally different, man?
It's interesting. Yeah, no, it does seem like when we did our show and you were explaining it and the story, and it feels exactly like what you were explaining. But I have to say too, it's very, very interesting. This is your first time directing, right?
Yes.
I'm super impressed with the way like we were talking in the last show, how directing is more involved than people think, right? It's not just like when someone walks through a door, it's not just that person walking through a door.
Right.
It's where's the camera? Is it like on the ground facing up? Is it up facing down? The angles. I mean, this is beautifully shot, and the angles, it draws you in. So on that end, I mean, I was really, really impressed. First time out the gate, and it looks like you crushed it, Jay, to be honest, you know?
Well, it's a team effort. The crew, the cast and crew on this was just phenomenal. So, and everybody wanted to bring their best to the table. So it made everything. So it was a fairly easy job for me. Now, some of it was, whatever it is, 15-hour days or whatever it is.
Right.
I would wake up in the morning and put together the shot list because the shot list was all messed up. And, but all of that stuff to me is like pretty fun. So it's not like you're doing a job. It's like you're just having fun all day long.
Nice. Now, Colleen, I want to ask you, so for this character, Lee Larson, what can you kind of tell us about her? Like, okay, she's an investigative reporter, right? So can we dive into her a little bit?
Yeah, she's a complicated character. So she's got this big hidden secret. And honestly, like, I talked with Jay about this a lot beforehand. Like, I feel like she could have attained her status because she's big where she is right now, like in her career. So she's had some really big stories that have hit the big time, and like now she's getting this attention. And she's made her career this way. And I feel like she could have really reached. I feel like she has the skill inside of her. Like, she's definitely someone who attacks things, knows where she's at, knows what she can do. I feel like she could have reached that status on her own. But there's a method in which she has reached it that is kind of, I don't know how much you want me to share, Dave, but like it's contributed to where she's at in her career. And now she's got this big secret and this thing that she is desperate to keep hidden. And so when that some things about that get out, she is trying to cover it up and trying to figure out, who has this information and what she can do to kind of save her butt because now things are getting sketchy and she's really nervous that this is all going to come out and everything is going to unravel. So this is her unraveling at the end. We're really seeing her unravel and trying to hold on to her control and everything that she's worked so hard to attain.
Yeah, it seems like she's really good at her job and maybe a little too good, right? She knows things now, right? And so now it's like people are after her. It's a vibe I'm getting after her because of this thing that she knows, this secret that she knows. And it's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating. Now, Jay, I wanted to ask you in terms of like inspiration, right? Because a lot of like you look at like George Lucas, for example, with Star Wars, he would pull from things, right? Like a lot of like Japanese culture when it came to like the Jedi and things like that. A lot of directors pull from even like some of their favorite movies, some of their favorite shows, things like that as inspiration. Was there any of that going on here with No Vacancy? Like, is there anything that you can point to like, hey, I love Stranger Things, I want to pull from that, or I love Star Wars, or anything like that that was kind of motivating you at all with this?
Yeah, multiple things. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is that what Colleen said about pulling from your experience, I think is sort of essential when it comes to any part of the creative process, right? Because if I write something, if I put something on paper that is inauthentic, then have I really done my job, right? Like the one thing I like to talk about is like if I don't really know the material, then I'm just giving you propaganda. Right. At that point. So for me, just like what Colleen said, she described it beautifully, is like drawing into your own experience to say, both No Vacancy and the Harlequin are both about shame and guilt. And I think it is the natural human experience to not want other people to be disappointed in you, to not want to cause other people pain and hurt because of what you did. And so the natural tendency that we have as humans is to then take guilt and turn it into shame and then hide it from people. And so it's coming from that, then exploration of that topic in particular. And then it's saying, well, how do you make that not only true, but also fun and interesting and something you'd want to watch, right? So with that, I think that's where you get some of the inspiration from the other places. Like I wanted it to be a one location shoot for the most part. We ended up having 2 locations because we needed a blackout studio. So you notice that there's a couple scenes in black and white that occur in the trailer. They're very quick, but that takes place at a blackout set. And that was a kind of an inspiration from Stranger Things, because in Stranger Things, when Elle uses her powers and when Elle goes and looks at other people from a distance, when she does her remote viewing type of thing, the Duffer Brothers put them in a studio with a water floor, and then but everything else is in color and it's all blacked out and in water, and it's like right there because that's what she's thinking about. And I thought, what a perfect way of saving a lot of money for a short film and for a feature film, for a low budget type of activity. Save a lot of money by being able to tell a compelling story, but make it about what the person's experience was, right? Like as you think about memories, they're never quite true to everything that you experienced. Right. And that's kind of what we're trying to capture with some of those black and white scenes. And then of course, you know, I'm a story geek, meaning I like science fiction, fantasy, and comic books. And so we use a lot of archetypes as characters in this, right? So you're saying like, okay, well, Lee Larson is not Lois Lane. There's very big differences between the two of them, but they're both investigative journalists, and it's an inspiration for the character, right? So things like that, just taking inspiration from wherever people have done really great things before, and you get inspired by it, and you put it in a script.
Now, Colleen, I want to ask you, because he mentions the black box rooms, right? Where you're kind of in this room. Were those more, like, as an actress, were those more challenging to do than, say, you know, like a normal shot where you're in like the motel room or something like that, where in this kind of this empty room? Is that a little harder to kind of pull that, you know, inspiration to kind of?
I mean, I think it depends on the circumstance, and it depends on, you know, other external challenges and things going on. Like, you know, when we were at Four Aces, it was like 20 below. There's like other things going on, you know, and then also you have like different distractions and all of that. But I think overall, yeah, maybe it would be harder just because there's more you have to kind of envision. But with this one, I didn't really feel that because it was such an intimate scene. And, you know, and just especially when the informant comes in, and we are so in this moment that there really isn't much else, I feel like, going on around that I'm like trying to envision. Like, we weren't in some like busy mall and there's not all these different people. Like, we're really in this moment. So I didn't feel that as a challenge so much in this piece, but I feel like that could be more of a challenge in, you know, like other things that I've done, or but yeah, not as much here. But I think those were some of my favorite scenes, to be honest. It was so amazing working with Kirk. He was wonderful, and he is just the perfect informant. Like, the casting was outstanding, and they were just such intense scenes. So yeah, we were just really in that moment.
Oh, there goes OG. OG has a bad internet connection and sometimes it bounces off. But I'm gonna brag about you a little bit, Colleen, and I want to brag about Kirk too a little bit, because you and I kind of were aware of one another because we had talked about you maybe playing in Star Wars Rivals at one point in time, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I remember
that. I was aware of what you could bring to the table. But one of the cool things, OG, is that when we were looking at people to play Lee Larson, by the way, most difficult role to cast for sure of any role that I've casted in the past. I had tried it out with various different people, like at a I'm a part of a group in Denver that does, like, they read scripts, and so I watched several people do it. I invited somebody to do it here in the studio who did a fantastic job, but was like, other than the acting and portrayal, was not like the embodiment of the character. And it was like, okay, how are we going to cast this role, and how are we going to make sure that it works? And it just kind of everything worked out perfectly to bring Colleen into the role. And the thing that I will tell you right now that works so well, because it's Colleen and it does not work for a lot of people, is that the script and the film does not work unless you care about Lee Larson. You have to care about Lee Larson. If you don't care about Lee Larson, the film will not work at all. It will not work. Like, it's just, that's the one thing it has to be. You can fudge on some other areas, you know what I mean? Right. But there's one thing that you have to have in order for this story to work, because we are seeing the world through Lee Larson. We are Lee Larson. Every single one of us that exists on the face of the earth is Lee Larson in some way, shape, or form. So if that's the case, we have to be endeared to her. And you know, a lot of Colleen didn't have to audition because we offered it to her, but we did get other auditions from other people. And a lot of times it was like Lee Larson, they took on the tough part of Lee Larson. And this is nothing against the other people because I didn't get to direct them at all or anything like that. But they took on the toughness of Lee Larson, but that toughness also equated to her being kind of bitchy in some areas, right? Like where it was like she's taking that like that I need to be tough and then like making other people feel bad almost, right? And that's not what we want, because then what do? We go, I don't know if I like this lady, man. You know? So Colleen was able to embrace this idea that Lee Larson is all of us, and I'm in this situation, but that doesn't mean that I am inherently like a bad person or that I'm turning off all of my empathy for the world and things like that. So there's this delicate balance that she's striking, which is just perfect. So Colleen did a fantastic job with that.
And that's hard. That's really difficult. That's not easy. That's not an easy balance to find.
No.
Like you said, Jay, you know, it's not easy. So yeah, that's wild. That's absolutely wild. Now, Colleen, how was it like in terms of from an actress's perspective, in terms of like your interaction with the other actors in the film? Like, how does that impact, you know, your job and how that kind of comes about?
I mean, that's everything. It's a huge deal. And everyone that was cast was just absolutely outstanding. And I'm like, every single person I was able to really connect to. And I mean, from goodness, like I said with Kirk, I think that was some of my favorite scenes. We immediately hit it off, and just the underlying like intensity, but coolness that he brings to everything was just amazing. And so when you're, you know, these other actors and everyone playing and like their levels here, and like you want to reach that, you know, you're bringing your level there, and you just you bring this energy off each other, and when you play off each other that way, it's so amazing to have those moments. Like it's everything for a creative person and an artist. So I was really thankful, like every single person. I mean, Sam, like, oh my gosh, like she was terrifying, absolutely terrifying. Like I have nightmares. But then like, you know, off screen, we're like, you know, hey, cool, whatever, like talking about life. And like, she's the sweetest thing. It's just, everyone brought their A game, you know, cast, crew, everyone. And it was just absolutely amazing to be able to feed off of that. It's like a dream come true for an artist. Absolutely.
And it's interesting that you mentioned that, like off screen, you guys are very close and you guys are friends and stuff. And I think that makes a big difference, right? Because like I noticed that even here on the channel, like we have a friendship, Jay and I and other members of the channel, where it's not just on camera, it's off screen, right? But that friendship, it bleeds into the content, right? And I feel like with No Vacancy, you guys are close, you guys like each other in real life, and you're friends. That only enhances the on-screen stuff. It adds to the authenticity of the experience, I think. So
well,
that's very important.
I just met everybody. Like we had just met. I didn't know anybody. I knew Lucas and I knew Jay, but I didn't know any of the actors before I got on. But I think everyone just, they knew this shoot was special. Like they knew this film was special. And I think everyone had that sort of mentality of like, I'm doing this really cool thing. And it was like this gift. And everyone I talked to, we all had that same sort of mentality of this is not sort of normal. You know, it's really special about this piece. And so bringing that authenticity, like everyone connected, I feel like, you know, at least from my experience, immediately. So it felt like, you know, you already had this sort of camaraderie, for sure. Yeah.
So this was much different than like other projects that you were
yeah, I mean,
I've
had really great, you know, I had really great experiences before, and obviously, you know, certain projects that have meant, you know, that are extra special, you know, something that it was really a neat experience, or maybe above another one in a certain way. But this was definitely one of the most special projects that I've worked on. You could just tell, like everybody, cast, crew, everyone, like there was just an energy. I don't know if that's like the word. There's an energy that no matter how cold it was or how late it was, like how tough the scenes were. And there was some really tough, challenging things that we all had to, you know, accomplish. And we were all like cheering each other on. Like everyone was just, there was a mood on set that you don't always get. That was really special.
Nice,
sure.
nice. Now you mentioned
don't want to be too humble. Like that was amazing. Yeah. Absolutely.
Wow.
Love
Wow. Now you mentioned challenges and stuff. Like, what would you say would be the absolute most challenging part of this whole process?
Oh, so okay, so well, I mean, a lot. So, the material it's tough. Like I was saying before, you have to connect with parts of yourself that you'd rather not connect with, to be honest. There's things you're working with shame and a hidden life and these really tough things that you have to sort of tap into. And that's it's challenging. And all the different emotions that come with that, like, and without giving too much away, just there is a whole gamut of experiences that Lee goes through in such a short period of time. And then on top of that, just logistically, we were shooting really long, like 12-hour days, and I from a different time zone. So I flew in on my birthday.
Nice.
It was a great birthday present. And I flew in and, like I'd been up since like, what, I don't know, like probably midnight California time because it was 3 a.m. And then we shot until, I don't remember that first day. It was like
1:30 in the
3.
morning or something like that, I think.
So it felt like 5 to me. So it was like
Yeah.
27, 28 hours I'd been awake. And then
the time change. So yeah, it was literally like 6 a.m.
Daylight savings.
Yeah.
You're right. Daylight savings. So it was like all this, like, so, and then the next few days too, it was like 2 in the morning or 3 in the morning or something. And it was like insane temperatures after the sun went down. Like we all had those like hand warmers in our boots and our, so it was really challenging. But again, I feel like that was just something where you feel extra proud of yourself. You feel like this is something that we really get to do and get to accomplish. And it just makes it that much more special. And I didn't hear, I mean, like nobody was complaining. Everyone was, even when it was freezing and retired, and it just, the energy was there the whole time.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a great cast and crew. I mean,
yeah,
there was not any time. So, I was a part of one. I was part of one production. There was like a real quick shoot. It was like a part of the 168 film project, which I think you've done before too, right, Colleen?
I did with Lucas, actually. That's the first time.
Oh yeah. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
And I was working with Marianne and Kirk. So Kirk, this goes back like 15 years. And I was not directing this and I was not writing it. I was partially on as a producer. And this other creator, who's actually super talented, wanted to do a story that probably was best told by somebody else. I'm just going to say that, right? It was probably like a heavy material that was not an experience that this person had, but bless him, he felt compelled to do it anyways. But we had somebody that was in the table read who literally got up and was like, I'm not doing this at all, and just like stormed off and left the room. And you will find people like that. Like there's a lot of people out there that are like that, and they bring those attitudes to the production, whether they intend to or not. But like Colleen said, we did not have a single bad attitude on the entire production. Like it was just people who I think sometimes we surprise. One of my really good friends, Phil Shabazz, I've known him for like over 10 years too. He was the first person that I got on board to be in the film. He plays Lazarus Lagmani, and
he's brilliant. He's brilliant.
He's brilliant. Yeah. And I felt bad because he is Middle Eastern. And most of his roles, like if you look on his IMDb, are like terrorists, you know what I mean? Like they're all like, it's horrible how he's typecast. But I go, and this is a little bit of a spoiler for the feature, but it is what it is. Cause if you watch the film, you're going to know this right off the bat. I go, hey, I got a role for you, but I got bad news, man, because it's a bad guy. And he goes, oh, okay, well. And he actually has a really good story about learning how being the bad guy is actually something that he's called to. And he talks about it really, really, really well. But I was talking to him, and he doesn't know, he's never been on a production that I've been involved with, right? Like he's never even, this is the first time he's ever seen a script from me. So he doesn't know like what my experience is or what I've actually done. He's seen Star Wars Rivals, but that's about it. And I was talking to him on set, and we had a big trailer for the cast and stuff like that, and we had a bunch of YouTubers running around and stuff. And I'm talking to him, and I go, "Is everything cool? Like, is this cool? Is this what you kind of expected and everything? Is this working out for you?" And he's like, I'm gonna be honest with you, this is way more professional than I was expecting. I was expecting like maybe I'd show up and like you get to sit on an egg crate and we'll buy you Del Taco for dinner. You know what I mean? Like he just didn't have a perception of what it was gonna be like. And I think that what Colleen said is true. Like every single person involved was like, I want this to be the best that it can be.
Yeah.
And as a writer, it's just unbelievable because you're like,
Right.
everything in my head is something that people are like gravitating towards. And that's what I mean by like, when you tap into the shared human experience,
Yes.
now all of a sudden people go like, we need to tell this story because we all share this and we don't maybe talk about this enough. Right. So it's just super rewarding.
Yeah.
Well, and that's so vital to good storytelling and good and making good content, right? Like I feel like the greats, like Walt Disney had a way of doing that, where he would bring in his 9 old men, and they would he would get them like they're all in on this, like they're all inspired, they all want to do this the first animated film Snow White, right? And they're all like personally like invested now, like they're this is like a team thing, right? And I think when you have that, like what you guys had on No Vacancy, I think that translates into the final product. And I think it's going to be absolutely incredible. I think it's going to be, I'm really excited to see it. I can't wait. Now you said, Jay, this is a prequel, right?
Yeah.
To a possible full length film.
Yep.
So if you can kind of elaborate on that a little bit, like what are the plans going forward, or what are the obstacles, or?
Yeah. So, I mean, the obstacle that every production is going to face, the first obstacle is going to be funding, right? Because the reality is that everything costs a lot of money and it's not getting any cheaper, right? And the concern from an investment perspective, and this is very true. I mean, like when I worked in tech startups, this was always the case. If you're going to go pitch to an investor, the investor's not going to say, wow, I really love this story in this case, so I'm just going to fund it. They're going to say, hey, I love the story, but is this story going to make me money, right? Like at the end of the day, like it's got to return a profit. And so part of making a proof of concept is to say, look, the quality is going to be there. And then we're going to do everything we can on the quality side to make sure that this is going to be a phenomenal production. But we also care about this, and we really care about it making money. So let's go ahead and like figure out like how do we reduce budget? We've seen what's happened in Hollywood this year for big budget films. Like a bunch of them lost money. So if you are out there and you're a producer and you're looking at, well, if I can spend less money with the opportunity to make more, you know, something like a Five Nights at Freddy's, right? Like you spend a little less money, but you make a lot more when it goes and it gets big. That's really what we're going to be looking for, is somebody to partner with us to do sort of more of a low budget type of engagement, and hopefully get as many of the contributors as we got this time back around. I mean, I would work with Lucas on every time I have a project if I could. I mean, the guy is like he's like a perfectionist in all the ways that I'm not a perfectionist, and I'm kind of a perfectionist in all the ways he's not a perfectionist, which is sort of like the perfect blending, right? Because I'll tell a funny anecdote about this. We're getting a shot just of a car. It's just of a car. I mean, the motel's there, but the motel always looks the same. It's just sitting there. There's a shot of a car, and he's like, I need another light in the back. And there's a guy running out into the it's like a Joshua Tree style environment that we're in, right? So he's got a guy way out there in the middle of nowhere putting a light behind a tree. And he's like, no, I need more light. And he's like, I need more smoke. And I'm like, if it were me, I would have shot this already. I would have been like, no, we should shoot this. Like it's a car. Like it's not, there's nothing else going on. Like it's not even critical to the story. But what Lucas does is he goes, no, that's not beautiful on screen though. Right. Like it needs to be beautiful on screen before I'm giving the thumbs up. And that's really awesome, because for me, I'm much more concerned about, are the beats of the story working? Is the emotion that we're supposed to be experiencing working? Is when we see this on screen, is it what's going on in our heads as the audience as this is happening, right? And so because Lucas and I share that goal, and because he shares every frame is beautiful, and I share every frame needs to help tell the story, it's just a perfect pairing of the two things. So I hope to work with him again on the feature for sure.
Yeah, and you can feel that as a performer too. Like I've worked with co-directors before where that was not the case. And you're like, wait, what do I do? You're like, I don't know. And it was very the collaboration was amazing, and we all felt that too. I think you could, and I've worked with Lucas hands down anytime. Like I said before, this is my third or fourth time working with him, and hands down his sets are like, everything is so chill. Everyone, you can tell like everyone has like just this incredible mutual respect for what everyone else is doing. And you can tell everyone just really appreciates being there. And it's a whole different calmness. So even when things are like, oh my gosh, like, like time frames and everything, and like, we got to get this shot. And there's just a level of like stress that isn't there that normally would be on another set. So yeah.
Wow. I can tell when I'm watching that trailer, I can tell, like when you mentioned like the perfectionism with the shots being beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks really good. Really good. I was saying that earlier on in the show today. I mean, how everything, the way it's shot, it's beautiful. And it's like, it looks like it's something from one of these big studios, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know, I was really impressed. And now that I know a little more of the behind the scenes though, the way you guys, the passion that went into it, and how you're a perfectionist, Jay, but in a different way. And Colleen, she put her heart into the character, and Lucas and the way he does the shots. I can see now why it looks as good as it does, because I mean, there was so much heart and love put into this thing, and I think too, also when you have, these smaller budgeted kind of, short films and what have you, I feel like in general, there's more love that's being put into this, as opposed to like when you get like these, like the big Warner Brothers, like DC movie or something, right? Where they just, Warner Brothers goes out and they just get somebody, right? And then they, this is a passion project, and I just think the energy out the gate is going to be different with something like this,
To prove that point. So, the top three people on the call sheet, Colleen's number one, right? 2 is Kirk, and then so Kirk was the guy in the hat that's in the black and white, and then 3 is Phil, and he's the white hat. In the very opening, in the beginning, he's looking at the thing that has the turquoise on his face, and he has the phone next to his mouth too. All 3 of the top people on the call sheet actually had a conversation with me about the backstory of their character and like how they'd gotten to be where they were. And on top of that, when I was talking to Phil, he goes, can you describe to me like what you think Lazarus Lagmani is like? Why is he doing this stuff? And I offered him a description of what I thought. And then he goes, can I share a 3-paragraph backstory that I actually wrote for this character? And I'm like, yeah, please do, dude. And he shares it with me. I'm like, that's phenomenal. That's perfect. And Kirk said the same thing. Kirk had a backstory for his character, and Kirk tells me, Kirk, I'll tell this after you've seen the short film. I won't go into it here, but Kirk's character essentially makes a deal with Lee Larson, and Kirk tells me, I know exactly what happens to this guy after he leaves this deal. I know exactly what he goes and does after he leaves this moment. And it's like, I mean, from a collaboration standpoint, that's exactly what you want, right? Mm-hmm. Someone has embraced the character so much that they've said, I know that the movie ends here, but I know what the character is doing beyond this, like, and that's phenomenal.
And it's like exactly what Colleen was saying earlier, where that just adds to that authenticity.
Yeah.
You become that character. It's just so much easier when you become part of it like that, Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I hope people are able to notice, because we live in a world that's like TikTok, throw stuff in front of your face, right?
Yeah. Right.
And one of the things I hope people notice when they watch even the trailer is like when Kirk plays the informant, the level of restraint he's showing, even though you can tell that he's embodying an emotion, but he's constraining himself so that the emotion feels like it's like pent up as opposed to like being over the top, is insane. Like even in the trailer, there's a thing he does where he just looks down and then gives her a little bit of a look. I'm like, bro, that's perfect. There was a shot in the trailer that I told Colleen about already. It got taken out of the trailer.
Okay.
But there's a shot of the trailer, and there's a shot of Colleen that'll be in the finished product for sure. And it's after Joni Boville. So Joni and Kirk are husband and wife, by the way. The anchor
Okay.
woman who's interviewing Colleen is the wife of Kirk, which is awesome. When she turns and asks Colleen a question, Colleen's face is like, it's the perfect response to
Wow.
what that question was, right? And so there's these little tiny things. And as a person who when I go to write, I am not looking for like long monologues and stuff. I'm just not that kind of writer, right? Like you'll watch a Quentin Tarantino film and it's just like dialogue on top of dialogue on top of dialogue. I don't write like that. That's not my style. And so to have the people embody the characters in the quiet moments, in the moments where it's like, just stay on them for an extra second because there's a twitch here, there's a twitch there, there's a slight change of expression that happens there. That's super cool, man. Like, and it just adds so much depth to not only the characters that are on screen, but to the overarching story and the arcs that everybody is on. So
that's where the magic happens.
That's where the magic happens. It's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Well, and people don't, and you're right, Colleen, people don't really realize that. Like those quiet moments sometimes say the most, you know?
Yeah.
They really do.
Favorite, I hope this makes the final, but you know, Jay, when that final scene with the informant that we shot and Kirk's like, I got this, I want to try something. Yeah. That wasn't like written in the way that he positioned his body in a certain way and did something that was so insanely powerful. And we both like had this moment after where like, I had like chills for like an hour after. It was so powerful. And it was just something that he was like, I just want to tweak. I just want to try something with my body and like movement and do this one thing. And the way that I, leave the seed, and it was just insane.
There was so many moments like that too. That's another thing when everyone's bought into what the vision is, right? When everyone's bought into what the vision is, those happy moments that you find that are like weren't planned, they become something that is like, how did we not think of doing this to begin with, right? So like there was I'll tell you a couple of them. One was the one that Colleen just mentioned with Kirk. The other one is and there was a moment because Kirk asked me, he's sitting on the bench and he goes, when I leave, do you want me to leave this way or do you want me to leave this way? And I go, oh, you can just leave this way. And then I go, and he's like, you don't want me to go the other way? I'm like, actually, no, go the other way. And then we go, wait a minute, deliver that line over there instead, right? Like change the way we thought that line was going to get delivered. And it's like, talk about plussing it up. Yeah, it just plussed it out of the ballpark. And then there was another moment where the shot is in the trailer. When the mask says, was it worth it? Right. And we're dealing with a very yellow set. It's an old motel room. It's not nice, right? It's like a yellowish, reddish kind of background. And so she's standing against this like yellowish, reddish curtain. And somebody was messing around with a hazer, just a smoke machine, out in the back. And there was a blue light in the back. Right. And the blue light's back. It's like lit up. And Lucas looks at me and goes, oh man, that looks really good. He's like, we need more hazer. And so if you'll see the sliver of open door behind her is blue against the yellowish orange of everything else. And it's like, oh my gosh, it's beautiful. Right. Like this horrific moment is actually beautiful because of like all the again, didn't plan it that way. We didn't plan to have a little strip of blue going down there. We just knew that the door needed to be open, and then somebody was messing around with a hazer, and we went, that's awesome, let's do that, right? Yeah. So those moments are great when everyone understands what the overarching vision is. They can just contribute so much more to what's going on. So it's perfect.
Is that common in filmmaking? Where, and this is a question basically for both of you, I mean, based on your experience, where there is a lot of that sort of like kind of figuring as you go, or like, oh, that works. Maybe we didn't plan it that way, but we decided to go that way because, does that happen a lot in filmmaking? Or is this something that like you guys kind of lucked out with, where it was like you just had a real collaborative team? What's the norm is what I'm kind of asking here with that.
What's your experience, Colleen?
I mean, it depends on so many things. It depends on, even just like we were talking about, like bigger budget films versus, something where you're collaborating and you really believe in it. And what the director's like, is it someone who really invites that collaboration, because I've had experiences where it was pretty clear, like, there wasn't going to be a whole lot of wiggle room on anything, and creative process there. So there's so much that it depends on. But I think the point is really like when you do feel that freedom to kind of go, okay, like what about this? What about that? We have that moment, and with other actors, and then also like that director actor relationship. It's so magical, and that's really where it's at, and that's where you feel like, and like you said, Jay, I mean, that's where you feel more connected, and like this is something that I genuinely want to do well. Like I want to put my all into this, and you have that amazing connection with it, is when there is that freedom. I don't know that there always is, and there's a lot of diversity there. Like it just depends. It depends on so many things, but I've had both experiences for sure.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And
I
Jay,
think it depends too. Well, I think it depends too, like on a lot of personalities and and their confidence level of certain things, right?
Yeah.
Like for example, I am not a fly by the seat of your pants kind of person, right? If I'm showing up on a set and I don't feel prepared, I'm gonna feel like an idiot. So like I have like an extensive shot list that's like, this is what I think we should have, and then I've got to go run that by Lucas, and then he and I are gonna collaborate on like whether or not like that shot will work or not, or if we need to tweak it at all. But at the same time, I feel like if everyone is coming to the set prepared, then and they know what the vision is, right? They know like who their character is meant to be, and they know what their character means to the story and what the character means to the other characters. Right. If everybody there has a vision of like what this story means, the truth that we're telling in this story, how the characters relate to one another, now my level of confidence as a writer, director, producer is much higher to let you do whatever you want to do, right? So and there was even one time when Colleen asked me on set, she goes, can we take this scene and just kind of play with it more?
Was that with Spencer?
Yes, with Spencer.
Yes,
yeah,
I was gonna say we have to talk about him, because that's
and he's amazing. So I said, yeah, of course you can, because I knew that they both understood what this scene was about. They both got it, right? Whereas if somebody had come to me and said, like, can I play with this scene, but like I didn't have a high degree of confidence, they knew what the scene was intended to do, then I'd be like, yeah, I'll let you have a take, but we'll see how that goes, right? But this was like, I was like, no, this I have every level of confidence that this will work, because Spencer Levin, who plays Stoner Ryan and plays Stoner Ryan, so funny.
Brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely kills it out of the ball. All the
he's on even when we're not filming. Like he's on all the time.
Was he the gentleman with the last video we did about No Vacancy, Jay, where you were saying like he came in and he was coming up with lines and stuff, and he had you guys on the floor?
Oh my gosh.
It was the most fun I've had in ages. Like just so great.
Yeah, and he there's one line that he has that I don't know if it'll make the final cut or not. I hope it does. But there's that shot of him when he's looking out the front door, and he's like looking at like what's going on right here. Well, the lead into that shot is him walking across the room, and he says the line that I was telling you about before, which is he goes, "Look, lady, I can flip the mattress over, but it's not going to be you're not going to like the other side any better," or whatever he says, right? And like that's an embodiment of like him understanding that. So what does that character mean to the story, right? He's first of all, he is comic relief. He knows that he's comic relief. Right. He is a person who's like, I don't even have any clue what's happening at the hotel around me, right? Like the motel around me. I don't understand what Colleen is going through with her character, Lee Larson. I don't understand why there's only one other person here, but the motel is sold out. Like, I don't understand any of this stuff. I don't care, because I'm just going to watch cartoons. Yeah. And so it's like, he understood that enough to go like, so imagine what he's thinking in his head to pull off that line. He's thinking, this lady was kind of harassing me earlier. Now, Colleen's playing that perfect because she's not being mean to him. She's kind of teasing him, right? And he's like, what is this lady doing? Like, why is she doing this? And so then he's thinking like, well, what's this lady going to come back and do? She's probably going to be complaining. So, of course, I got to go handle this situation. Mm-hmm. And so he's taken in what the story is. He's embodied that. And you go, well, what would I say in this situation? And he not only what would I say in this situation, but how could I make it funny so everybody laughs at me, right? And that's phenomenal. I mean, I love that. That's perfect.
So he's the gentleman in the trailer with like the vintage kind of style hat, right?
He's like the stoner, the guy that like works at the hotel, and doesn't even really know, like, why am I here? What am I doing? Like, he was so brilliant. Yeah, he had us in stitches like the whole time. It was
Yeah,
amazing.
he's really, really funny.
Yeah.
And he was really funny the whole time. I am the kind of person that I like to me, every job, right? Whether it's you and I doing podcasts,
Right.
OG, or whether it's me working with a client on their marketing plans, or if it's me, working on set. I don't just want to create something awesome. I also want to develop a rapport with you, right? Like I want to just be able to know, like, hey, like, and Spencer was awesome because I had never met Spencer before. Like Spencer's not a person that I know. I knew Kirk. I knew Joni through Kirk, although I never met Joni before. I knew Colleen through Lucas. I knew Phil, of course, I've known for a long time, but I didn't know Austin. I didn't know Spencer, and I didn't know Sam at all. Never even was aware of them. Completely cast them out of the blue, just working with a casting director. And as soon as Spencer showed up on set, it was like, oh yeah, this guy's just like, he's just chill. He's just like, it's easy. This is gonna be the easiest person to work with. It's no problem at all, and that was really cool. He does some very special things in the film that are really, really cool.
Yeah.
So he's kind of like you were saying, he's kind of like the comic relief of the film. He
is in an otherwise very heavy film. He is the comic relief that's meant that's specifically purposely for the story. But yeah.
I was going to ask you that. Was that character being comic relief? Was that like intentionally done to kind of break the darkness, so to speak, right? Because you said it's a very heavy kind of film. Was this character put there to sort of ease that up a little bit throughout, or was it kind of like
I'm gonna say something that's going to be kind of intense? It is meant to break it up a little bit, but it's also meant to throw you off guard. So that when the darkness hits, the darkness is darker than you ever imagined it would be. Unfortunately.
Interesting.
So, but it is, so the question that we're always asking when you talk about this particular script with No Vacancy and the Harlequin is what happens when people isolate themselves from society, right? And the answer to that, I'm not going to go into it very, very much because it'll be way too into spoilery territory. But the answer is that isolation is a very damaging thing, right? It's very damaging to our psyches. It's very damaging to our communities. It causes a lot of pain and hurt and a lot of issues. So, so one of the things that I love about Colleen's relationship with Spencer through these two characters, Lee Larson and Stoner Ryan, that's literally what we call them, is that when Colleen gets to the motel, she realizes that Spencer's character, Stoner Ryan, is not a part of this situation. And he is not experiencing shame and guilt because he's decided that he doesn't need to worry about those things. He just needs to watch cartoons and smoke joints and eat junk food. And there's a part of Colleen's character that sees that character as what she wishes she could be, that she could alleviate this thing off of herself, right? And so the interplay between the two of them is awesome because Colleen is like teasing him in like can I just stay with you for a little bit longer? Because I don't want to face everything else that's going on right now. And he's like, why are you harassing me, lady? Like, I just want to watch cartoons, So like, so the interplay between them is not only does it matter for the making this a little bit more lighthearted, but it's also going to make it deeper and darker as we see what happens with the rest of the film.
So it's like a contrast kind of thing, right? Like it's sort of like it would be like Bambi, right? You kind of set up like these beautiful moments with the mother. Exactly. And then when that moment happens where the mother dies, it's like it's even that more heartbreaking because you had all these good moments prior to it. Is kind of what you were setting up.
Exactly. And again, those moments, to compliment Colleen and to compliment Spencer, those moments don't work unless the people in those scenes understand them. Right? Because when you say like, how are you going to say the line? Like how you say the line matters to how this scene plays itself out. Right. And Spencer was so good that I did not have him when I picked out. I didn't tell him this. When we picked out like who we wanted to see back for auditions, I didn't have him in my top 3. And both Nathan, co-writer and producer, and Lucas were like, no, he's in my top 3. Like, he's awesome. And I go, okay, I'll put him on there. No big deal. And he came back, and when he was in the audition, when he did the follow-up audition, he just destroyed. Like, he was just so perfect. And I was like, oh, this is the guy. This is the dude. So.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
He needs
incredible.
to spin off all on his own because
I know. Prequel to the prequel.
Yeah.
There you go. Can we get a standalone Spencer movie?
From the Ryan film. I'd watch it. It was great.
Yeah, it'd be awesome.
Oh, that's awesome. That is absolutely awesome. Well, it was fantastic talking to you both about this No Vacancy trailer and the behind the scenes. Really, really interesting stuff. I cannot wait to watch this film. I cannot wait. Colleen, we're gonna do like a watch party on the channel.
Yes, I would love that.
Yeah, you're welcome to come on and join us for that. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to do that.
Yeah, and Colleen, if you can remind everybody at home where they can find you on social media.
Yep, at Colleen Trusler and pretty much all sites, but especially Instagram. That's where I'm at the most.
There we go. Follow her on Instagram and all platforms. Colleen Trusler, Jay Sherer. Host of the Story Geeks normally, except for today. If you could let everybody home know where they can find you on social media, sir.
Yep, over on X, you can find me at Jay Sherer. That's probably where I'm mostly active, but you can also find me on Instagram, same at Jay Sherer. My profile is public now that we have a film to promote. I was leaving it on private for the longest time. But you can also follow How Stories Work. I'm posting stuff over at How Stories Work as well, including you can watch a whole series of what I learned directing a movie for the first time. There's a bunch of content that I have. The first one is, I'll just let you guys know, the first lesson is film is collaborative and you have to collaborate with everybody. So go check that video out. It's over on the How Stories Work with Jay Sherer YouTube channel. And yeah, give us some good vibes so that we can go out and get the feature film made, because I think a lot of us would love to do that. So we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we're very excited here, and we're going to be following it very, very closely. Once it gets released, we're going to be talking a lot about it on the channel. We're going to have watch parties and everything. So really looking forward to that. But thank you both so much for coming on, and thank you also so much for watching. Comment down below with all your thoughts on the process, on the trailer itself. If you have any questions for Jay or Colleen, post them down below. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye-bye, everybody.